Hello, everybody. It is Monday, January 15th, 2024, and today we're going to be playing the StarCraft Brood War Zerg campaign. This is one of the most storied campaigns of the era. It's a fantastic campaign, tons of really epic missions, and just a blast to play. I've had so much fun practicing it, and I can't wait to bring it to you all here today. It's a hard campaign, though. I'm going to be pressing about 15,000 buttons over the course of the next hour and a half. So instead, I have two wonderful commentators joining me today, Ectar and remotely GiantGrantGames.
I'm the okay commentator. GiantGrantGames counts for both of the good commentators.
I am Giant, after all.
Grant, do we have a video feed for you?
Yeah, we got it.
Fantastic. Want to make sure we have that before we start. Are we ready to go?
Locked and loaded.
All right. In which case, we will start in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, the run starts off really quick. The first mission lasts less than a full 2 minutes. The first thing we have to do is cover 7 hives, which are in the lower left-hand corner, the blue buildings you can see on the mini-map right there. We have to bring our forces adjacent to all 7 of them to complete the mission. We're going to use the Zerglings right there to get hives 3 through 7, and we're going to use the red Hydralisks, which are our heroic units, to recover the ones that are in the top right. As we bring our Zerglings onto the third mission, we're going to receive a couple of additional forces in the form of Scourges, which are an anti-air specialty unit that we're going to use to clear the way on into the 4th hive. There they are. They're going to crash into a couple of Guardians, taking them out, clearing the way for us. And with the way nice and clear, very nicely done. We've got 6 Zerglings remaining, 5 Zerglings remaining, which is plenty to make it through on into the 4th hive. We're going to capture that. Quick little safety save, costs us almost no time. We're going to bring 2 Zerglings up to hive number 5 and 2 Zerglings down towards hive number 6. Very nicely captured there. And as we bring our way down past these Ultralisks and a couple of sunken colonies, too much StarCraft 2, we're going to recover the 6th hive and then take a Nidus Canal, this green building, as a teleportation onto an island here, and we're going to pick up hive number 7.
As soon as Ace grabs hive number 7, he's going to get a large army, and he has to clear a giant trigger box that is about the size of the island of all of the Zerg enemies. So he's going to be grabbing his forces and pushing them to the north. There's a little bit of an area in the northwest that actually does not count as part of the trigger box. He's going to try to hold off some of the forces and stop them from entering.
Yeah, all of these units right there in the very top left don't actually count towards the end of the mission if we can keep them out of the trigger box. So hopefully we can get all the Zerglings cleared out there, and we're going to be closing the first mission as soon as the victory screen pops up.
Very nice.
And that is the first mission. There it is.
Well, unfortunately, in StarCraft 1, the way that triggers work is not exactly clean or pretty, so sometimes you do have to sit there waiting a little bit, just hoping something is going to activate. They check for triggers every 1.4 real seconds, and as a result, things can be a little bit awkward, like we just sat there waiting to win.
This is the first of our in-game cutscenes. These actually play out entirely in-engine, so all of these units are actually just getting attack commands from the AI, and we got good luck here. RN Jim, our green Marines, sometimes just sits back by those siege tanks and doesn't contribute, but as a heroic unit, he really makes this a lot quicker. That is like 2 seconds of unavoidable time loss if he doesn't decide to fight, but we got lucky tonight.
So what you can see Ace doing after every single cutscene, a little bit of dialogue will start, and Ace will save and load in order to skip that dialogue. There is about 7 minutes worth of dialogue in StarCraft 1, so skipping it is pretty darn important. Now, what's happening here is that the Terrans have given a psi emitter to Kerrigan, who is the character that we are playing as in this campaign, which, if you get close to any feral Zerg units, will mind control them. Usually, this is the first big production mission in StarCraft. But what Ace is going to do is use these elite Zerg units that he's running around and grabbing in order to destroy an objective in the middle of a heavily fortified Terran base without actually building anything.
Yeah, you can see we have both red units and purple units. The red units are a heroic variant with more than double the stats and all upgrades, so they are incredibly powerful. And for the second mission of the run, our objective is to destroy the Psi Disruptor, which is preventing Kerrigan from maintaining better control over the Zerg swarm. We're going to destroy it and improve our ability to control our forces. We're going to do a little trick right here. We're going to sacrifice this Zergling to a siege tank. Blessed you, siege tank gods in the sky. We can take that, and that will allow us to pick up the biggest of boys, the Tarask. Product identity, say from Wizards of the Coast, Torask, mind you, spelled differently. and he is going to tank its way through onto the final objective. He has 800 hit points, a ton of armor, and deals a massive amount of damage, so he's going to clear the way for the rest of our forces. We actually have a massive army right now. We expect to have about 8 units. This is almost double that, so we're in a really good spot to start this engagement onto the final objective.
However, this engagement is still not going to be easy. The enemy has many times what it takes to clear everything that Ace has. We cannot watch this fight happen normally. Instead, Ace is going to charge in, annihilate those siege tank artillery, and then run with the Tarask in front, straight towards the objective in the middle of the base, target it down while the Tarask tanks for everything, hopefully.
No matter what the Prima Guide told you, siege tanks are the real antagonist of this run. Right now, Ace is
And it does look
spamming.
that Ace is doing an... I'm so sorry, my friend, you go.
Ace is actually spamming right-click on that building right there because there's a random delay between attacks, and that actually cuts that delay off. So really nicely job. Very quick done by Ace.
Yeah, that was a very clean kill by Ace. That attack can be monstrous. Pathing in StarCraft 1 is a nightmare, and the fact that his units are moving where he wants them to is something that takes years of practice. And he has had those years.
All right,
So this is mission number 3, the Kelmoran Combine, where Ace now has to actually do production in StarCraft, which is very exciting. The goal of this mission is to mine a casual 10,000 minerals. In the top right corner, you can see that blue icon. That is how many minerals you have. And 10,000 is a lot. You never want to have that many in a normal game. In order to do that, Ace is going to spend a lot of time building up a very powerful economy with a lot of drones who are mining those minerals. And he's not going to build anything else, which means that the 5 players who are inside of the game are going to all be attacking him. He's going to have to defend against everything simultaneously. And at the same time, not build a single thing. It's going to be very difficult.
Yes, so a little bit of lore background. The reason we're acquiring 10,000 minerals is because we're planning to help our good friend Arcturus Menx in the next mission to recover his home planet, or his capital planet of Korhal. So we're gaining all of these minerals so that we have a nice bank before, so we can actually make that engagement successful. We're working as well with our good buddy Phoenix, who is helping us on this mission, because we're such nice guys. We're helping out all of the other big players in the Koprulu sector, except for the UED, who are kind of the other antagonists, the United Earth Directorate. Those are the people from Earth. Boo, people from Earth. And other than siege tanks, they are kind of the big antagonist of the run here. They're our most consistent enemies.
Ectar, do you realize how much power you have right now?
Whenever you get power, there's 2 things you can do with it. Delegate it and abuse it, and I choose to do the latter. All right, now that we've gone ahead and cleared out the first 2 bases and expanded into the first base, in just a minute we're going to be expanding over to the right-hand side so we can get a 3rd base and start collecting a lot of minerals. Although our goal ultimately is to get up to 10,000, we want to keep our mineral income low for a mineral total low for a long time. That is because at 2,000, 6,000, and 8,000 total minerals, the AI gets a trigger to attack us in addition to their regularly scheduled timing attacks. So we want to make sure that we spend as little time with the AI aggroed onto us as possible. But because we have basically just trying to get up to minerals, until we get around 2,000, it's a pretty good time for a couple of donations if we have any. I'm not hearing any donations being read out yet, so we're going to keep on the commentary. We're going to go ahead and take that 3rd base there. We can continue to build drones, and we're also going to be starting to build a couple of overlords. Overlords are the supply unit for the Zerg faction. You can see in the top right, we're currently using 31 out of a maximum of 34 possible supply. Each overlord allows us to produce an additional 8 supply worth of units, and every drone that we produce costs 1 supply. So to get us up to a nice, healthy economy, we're going to need to build additional overlords. That previous comment still stands about donations, by the way.
Excellent. Sorry about that. We have $10 from Bats saying, oh goodness, those Zergs are indeed rushing. Good luck, Ace. Make sure to war those broods. We're brooding for you back here.
Boo.
Thanks, Bats.
And we have $250 from Kenners. Zerg Rush to meet the incentive, which was indeed met. Thank you so much, Kenners. And we have $5,000 from Blinks with less than 3. Thank you, Blinks.
Incredible.
I have to ask how that's spelled. Is it like Blinks, the original Xbox game?
No, it was like what your eyes do.
Ah, okay.
The most overpowered ability in StarCraft 2.
Ah, very true.
We have an incredible crowd. Thank you guys so much for laughing at all my terrible jokes.
We didn't pay them as actors either. Did not hear that.
Do we have time for another?
We do.
Excellent. We have $50 from Red Rambler. My son and I love watching StarCraft together, and we were so excited to hear it would be in GDQ. He just lost his grandpa and grandma this holiday season due to cancer, and early detection could have made decades difference for both of them. This donation is for you, Pat and Dave. So sorry for your loss, and thank you that you can be here with us watching StarCraft tonight.
All right, so we've just about finished building up to our maximum drone count here. We're going to start actually getting onto that 2,000 mineral income, and Phoenix is going to be incredibly useful for that. He is our best anti-air defense, and the first attack that comes in is from a bunch of red wraiths, which can really hit at any of our bases, so we position him in kind of a way that he can catch most of our attacks. There's a timing-based attack. We're going to want to get in on that siege tank and take it out. Siege tanks have a minimum rage. You can see it unsieging there, so really trying to minimize the amount of damage that it takes. Unfortunately, we did lose that Ultralisk. All Zerg units and buildings are biological, so they actually regenerate hit points over time if they're not taken out. So if we were able to keep the Ultralisk alive, it'd get healthier and allow it to rebuff subsequent attacks.
Losing that Ultralisk is not the end of the world, though. Ace has been pretty good with his micro overall. He's kept a lot of his high-damage Zerglings alive, and he's really looking fairly decent for this incoming 2,000 mineral attack.
Yeah, Phoenix, one of the greatest warriors in Protoss history, going to be a real burgeon to our defense on this mission, and I expect to do similar things for many years to come.
Absolutely. So my feed cut out a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what you explained, but did you explain... I forgot what I was going to ask. I'm so sorry. I'm nailing it.
We explained how overpowered of a unit Phoenix is and how anyone in the sector would be foolish to go up against him.
Yeah, that makes total sense. He is the capital of Arizona, after all.
Oh, my God.
I have done so many runs, and they've been saving these. These are so bad.
All right, so that Red Wraith, it's a little on the unceremonious side because Wraiths are kind of a terrible unit. They're pretty good at anti-air, but we don't build many air units throughout the course of the run, and none in this mission, so they got taken out relatively easily. We don't expect another attack until 6,000 minerals, so if we've got any other donations, this would continue to be a decent time. Moving right along.
One thing that is worth mentioning that you may have mentioned when my feed cut out is that the enemy attacks that we talk about, for example, the ones coming at 2,000, 6,000, and 8,000 minerals, are not actually, they don't hit at that time. Instead, the AI tries to just send an attack at around that time, and the AI is very, very dumb, which means that it'll get there eventually from some angle, somehow, most of the time. But as a result, Ace can actually have some very interesting issues that'll crop up throughout this run where he might get attacked by 2 different attacks at the same time. Then he's going to have to be able to deal with them because the AI just couldn't figure out how to attack in sequence.
Yeah, one of the things that makes StarCraft a really interesting game to play casually, but can sometimes be tricky to play on a speedrun level, is that not only are the attacks somewhat random in where they hit and when they hit, but also what units they decide to send. So there's a huge amount of variability between what can happen, what's likely to happen, and what actually ends up happening. We've had a couple of errant attacks where we just randomly get nuked on missions where you don't expect them to even have access to nukes. So making sure that you can maintain control over all of the likely situations and then adapt to the unlikely ones is one of the bigger skills in running StarCraft at a high level.
It is true. When you're focusing on a speedrun and you just randomly hear nuclear launch detected, it is maybe one of the most terrifying and beautiful things that can happen at the same time. It is why this run is good. It is also very, very obnoxious.
Yeah,
now, it does look like the White was sending a little fleet of raids over, and then we kind of saw them just go the other direction away from the base for some reason, and that is exactly that variance we were talking about.
Very early on in this mission, we parasited a dropship, which is how we're getting vision on the left-hand side of the map, and knew that that drop was incoming. If you don't have vision of that area, they can get fully dropped, and it can actually cause havoc if your defenses aren't set up in a good spot. But since we haven't had to adjust too hard to any of the incoming attacks, there is the 6,000 mineral attack right on time. coming in and hitting our 3 o'clock base. We should be able to take it out without significant issue because, again, Wraith's kind of not a very good unit. We're also setting up our Hydralisk onto that high ground there because the high ground is one of the most powerful defensive setups in StarCraft. Another siege tank coming in that we're going to take out right there. We've hit the 8,000 mineral point, and that tells every AI on the map, and there are 5 of them, to start attacking right now with whatever they have. And this attack is very chaotic. We have a lot of coming in from the Blue Terrans right now. We're actually baiting a lot of those ghosts away with Phoenix. They're trying to chase him down, and they're just leaving our drones alone for the most part. We'd love to keep every drone alive at that base, but losing a little bit of economy. Nuclear launch
There's
detected.
the nuclear launch. It is worth remembering that if Phoenix dies on this mission, the mission is over. It is a game loss, and that is why he is scampering away right now, even though he's an immensely powerful player. And the enemy nuked themselves. Incredible. I love it.
We actually had a cloaked ghost to get all the way down to our main base. We did lose our third, which is unfortunate. If this were world record, it has to be a reset, but for Marathon, we could definitely keep the run going. We're going to provide you with a lot of interesting and entertaining things that have happened, even if it isn't necessarily always on world record pace. And getting across the finish line is getting across the finish line.
Yeah, this is one of the most reset-heavy missions in the entire run because, A, it takes a really long time and there is so much variance to it, but Ace has made it through, and now he gets to reap the rewards of his hard work as he starts out this macro mission with those $10,000 in the bank, which is going to catapult him straight from the early game into really the late game, where he is going to very aggressively try to destroy all of the enemies on this map. And if you look in the bottom left-hand corner of the game screen, you can see that there's a mini-map. The entire black area that you cannot see right now is covered in enemy forces. It is just all enemy base that is going to have to be destroyed. So getting that really, really huge amount of money to begin with is very important.
Yeah, you might think that 10,000 is a lot of minerals, and you're right, but by the time that this mission is completed, we're going to have spent closer to 30,000. So even though we start with a lot of resources, the very first thing we're going to do, gather more resources. And this is the first mission where we actually mine Vespene gas. You can see in the top right-hand corner, we have about 190 of it or so. That is our technology resource. It's used for producing higher tier units as well as upgrades. And upgrades are one of the most powerful force multipliers in the entire game. Not only do they make all of our subsequent units better, but they affect the existing units we have on the map. So anytime we get upgrades, it's really powerful for making our forces just that much better. This mission, I don't think we've said it yet, is the liberation of Core Hall. This is where we're going to help our good friend Arcturus Mengs to reclaim his capital planet because we are such good guys.
Yes, we are truly his best friend. We made a promise to him, and we're going to keep it. And that is that. The UED is going to have to get kicked off because, honestly, they don't have a permit to be camping here.
He may have left us behind on New Gettysburg, but that's all water under the bridge for now.
Yep.
All right, so we've got our hatcheries finished, and we're going through and building up the biggest army that we've ever seen until the last mission of the run, where we're going to see a bigger army. But what we're doing right now is just building a ton of workers so we can continue our economy. And then, although normally the Hydralisk is the sort of most generic and effective combat unit, they cost gas, and because we're getting a lot of our upgrades right now, we don't have the gas to spend on it. So a lot of our first army units are going to be in the form of the Zergling, which are very strong at killing things that don't fight back. Unfortunately, most of our enemies tend to fight back a little bit, so we're going to start off with Zerglings and then transition into Hydralisks as our upgrades get completed, and then move and push in through with that. Grant, why don't you talk to them about attack momentum?
All right, attack momentum is a very important piece of RTSs where you have a certain critical mass of units and you're going to lose them throughout a fight, particularly when you're playing something like the Zerg Swarm. It's very important to, oh, he's under attack already. That's not looking good, but a good, nice group of Zerglings popping out instantly. It's almost as if Ace has played this campaign before.
Once or
But
twice.
the attack momentum is quite important because Ace is going to be hemorrhaging units. This is not like something, he's not going to beat it deathless. Only a weird guy would do that. Instead, he is going to send hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of enemies at the, or of units at the enemy, and retaining them means that the next base, and then the next base, and then the next base becomes easier and easier to deal with. So Ace is building up to a certain critical mass of forces so that he can make sure he takes the fights very cleanly, has a lot remaining, and is able to very quickly then jump on the next enemy and take them out as well. Particularly, having a good front line to keep his higher tech units alive is very important, because the high tech ones are hard to replace.
And unlike the AI and a lot of more modern RTS, the AI here kind of has to play fair. They'll start with a certain selection of units, but then anything else that they want after that, they actually have to produce out of their production structures. So the enemy Zerg use their larvae, the enemy Terrans produce out of their barracks. In a modern RTS like StarCraft 2, they're just going to get given free units over the course of the mission just from triggers. So anytime that we can destroy enemy production structures, that is units that they're never going to be able to produce again. But the AI, for all of its many, many faults, is actually quite good at replenishing its fallen forces if given a little bit of time. So if we ever attack the enemy and don't break a whole base in its entirely, they will rebuild. They'll be not stronger than they were before, but anytime that the enemy is allowed to rebuild their forces is time that we have to spend killing them a second time, and nobody has time for that. This is supposed to be a speedrun after all.
It does look like Ace is getting to the point where he is going to start sending his army to attack. He is currently probably about 150 units that he has to be controlling, and this can be a lot for him to micromanage. He's going to do his best to try to take down high priority targets such as enemy siege tanks or lurkers. However, he isn't able to control it all at the same time. It just isn't possible for most humans, including, world record holding speedrunners.
Yeah,
particularly when the enemy comes to attack him at the same time, which is really a jerk move in the Zerg community.
As a function of this being a game that was made in 1998, shout outs to anyone that was alive in 1998, you can only control 12 units at any given time. You are not allowed to select any more than that. So it's very important that we have control groups set up, which means that you can push a singular number key and select 12 pre-prescribed units at a given time. This allows Ace to control his units a lot more effectively, and it is almost always more valuable to take a few seconds to set up control groups on your army than it is to just box units and tell them to go. The AI, again, many faults, and attacking well is not one of his strong suits. You can absolutely have units that are being shelled by siege tanks, and they'll continue happily attacking that command center that isn't doing them any damage at all. So making sure Ace is manually controlling who the enemy, which of the enemies that we are attacking, is almost always worth the actions per minute. One thing that we can do to make this attack go a lot quicker is make usage of a Nidus Canal, that green building that we saw there, as well as on the very first mission. This allows allied Zerg units to go through it at instantaneous speed, but it can only be placed on the creep, which is this purple area you see all around our main bases. All Zerg buildings except for the hatchery can only be placed on the creep. But when there are enemy Zergs, we can use their creep against them to allow us to reinforce even more quickly. Ace doing a really good AI manipulation. Those lurkers can't be destroyed without detection while they're burrowed, but getting them to attack us and then moving away so that they unburrow to chase us means we can take them out while they're above the ground. Really nicely done.
So what happened, we were talking about momentum earlier. The first attack against this outpost wasn't necessarily as great as Ace normally would have wanted it to. Some of the siege tanks hit very good shots. As a result, he spent some time down south replenishing his forces, using that Nidus to teleport his forces in, and now he's going to be striking against a big Zerg encampment. And he has a huge amount of Hydralisks here, actually. It's really the Zergling count, which is very cheap to replace, that he was waiting on. But this Hydralisk count is going to tear through the Zerg.
Yeah,
the enemy Zerg, specifically.
We mentioned the Overlords before as being our supply-producing unit. They serve double duty as also the Zerg's detection. So anytime there are enemy lurkers, which are that burrowed unit that attack in an area, they can be absolutely ruinous to all of our forces if left to their own devices. We have to make sure to constantly be bringing Overlords to the front. We have them rallied onto our Hydralisks, that way they keep moving forward, but that we don't just throw them into the enemy meat grinder. You can see a bunch of Mutalisks in the sky there. Would absolutely destroy Overlords if we don't send army units with them, and it's all too easy to tell your whole army to just attack the top left-hand corner and have your Overlords just go, okay, I'm gonna go all the way into the corner, goodbye to my own army.
And Ectar did mention this before, but I feel that it's very important to reiterate. You see all these purple units on the field at the same time fighting. Ectar said you can only control 12 of them at a time. This is a good 100 of them, and he is doing an impressive job keeping them all together and fighting together. It is hard. If you ever play StarCraft 1 on your own, your army probably ends up as a giant conga line, because that is by far and away the easiest way to accidentally mess up, and then you just get annihilated by enemy bunkers, siege tanks, lurkers, all that type of stuff. Ace is doing some very nice coordinated attacks here.
I mentioned before that the siege tank is kind of the real antagonist of this run. Being more specific, high ground siege tanks are an absolute nightmare to deal with. The high ground units have a 47 chance to be missed by any ranged attack that comes out, so all of our Hydralisks are effectively doing half damage when attacking up onto the high ground, as well as there was a science vessel that put a defensive matrix on it, giving it effectively an additional 250 health. So that one siege tank probably got about 10 kills before being taken down, but it needed to get taken down, otherwise it would have gotten substantially more. As we're going to start swinging our way into the bottom left-hand where the Terran and the Zerg main bases are located. We're going to be prioritizing, focusing down the siege tanks, as we said before. By far and away the most impactful unit for Ace to micromanage. Now you can see him going in and sniping one right there. Heard him Spider Mine go off. Hopefully that didn't do too much damage. And as much as we'd love to be controlling things, we have to be controlling things everywhere on the map, got to continuously be producing things. So often you're not even looking where you're attacking, you're just telling your units to go do a thing and trusting that they're going to do it. I need to take care of something else, and you can see Ace all around the map, everywhere, everything everywhere, all at once with this army control.
Now, one thing that Ace did in this attack, what you can see on the minimap in the bottom left, is he actually skipped the bottom enemy base. There is a southern central enemy base that Ace just completely ignored during his initial pushes. And now, as this final big base is being cleaned up, the small central outpost is going to have Ace's reinforcements come and take it down pretty darn easily. It's a very nice little time save where you can get two bases at the same time.
We've talked a little bit already about modern RTS design, and this mission in particular runs a little bit antithetical to that. In the respect that we have to destroy every single enemy building on the map. Like, we have to take out the missile turrets, the supply depots, every single building. There's no chance that the enemy can actually defeat us right now, and it can actually be a huge time loss if you end up missing like an errant missile turret, which we may have done, as the mission has not ended yet.
There it was.
There it was. All right. Yeah, modern RTS would have you finish the mission when you take out major buildings, but in a couple of missions you have to take out every single building.
It's not even modern RTS, Ectar. Literally, this campaign just changes its rules halfway through.
All right, we've got a little bit of a cutscene going on right now, but this is a very hectic mission, so we're not going to watch most of it play out. We do actually see it play out there. Ace making me into a liar. This is the most intensive kind of mission on the run. For the first 6 minutes, the AI is totally turned off. Enemy units won't attack us if we do anything other than attack them first. The enemy won't produce any units, and they won't even be producing any units. They are almost effectively just totally turned off for the first 6 minutes. And why is that, Grant? What's going on here?
It is because we are very good people, and the allies that we had worked with previously are taking a nice little nap, and we're going to go give them, some back massages for working so hard with us in the previous missions.
Yeah, we're going to massage those knives right into their back as we are absolutely turncoat onto our former allies right now. We've got Emperor Mengsk, who we helped out last mission, spawned on the left-hand side, and we've got our good buddy Phoenix from 2 missions prior on the right, and we are going to absolutely ruin their day.
And the way that we're going to ruin their day is actually very interesting. Because this is 6 minutes where the enemy AI is effectively immobile, they will only attack if they are attacked. There's a huge level of optimization that can be done on this mission specifically. What you choose to destroy during this 6-minute timing is really, really up in flux. And the way that Ace has come up with what he thinks is the best way currently is to destroy all of the factories and machine shops on the map. These are what allow the enemy to upgrade the siege mode upgrade for the siege tanks. Now, as Ectar was talking about before, the enemy has to play by the rules just like we do. And that means that if an upgrade is required for a unit, they have to research it. They don't get given it for free like they do in StarCraft 2, frankly. And as a result, he is going to eliminate this upgrade and make it so that one of the strongest artillery pieces in the game is instead just going to be kind of a really subpar tank, making the attacks later much easier.
Yeah, if Ace is able to snipe out siege mode, it saves literal minutes off of this mission alone. Just because the siege tank is such a powerful defensive unit. We're also going to be trying to focus down command centers. You said factories. We take down a couple of barracks as well, and we're almost doing incidental damage on the Protoss side. Like, we aren't able to snipe out anything critical, but the Protoss are not the sector's most intelligent defenders, so they're going to be relatively easy for us to take out. You might be thinking that, given that we have 6 minutes, is it possible for us to just do nothing but produce army units and make the sneak attack as powerful as is absolutely possible? And to our knowledge, no. We have to absolutely continue to produce units. After the remaining 2 minutes is up, the AI is going to turn on with a fury and attack us with a pretty big counterattack and continue to try to resist our knife-wielding action. And yeah, we've just found that producing workers and then continue to get a big economy is the most effective way to handle the back half of the mission.
One important thing to remember is that after the sneak attack finishes, 2 legendary heroes, one of the Terran and one of the Protoss, spawn. So even if we were able to take down every single building and unit on the map, we would still have to fight both Duke and Phoenix. And if you don't have a good economy with a lot of units, you're never going to bust them. It just takes forever.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Phoenix, just by himself, has 1,600 hit points. That is double the hit points of our big beefy Tarask from a couple of missions ago. It is, I think, the single strongest unit that we face in the entire mission. So it's going to be a real challenge to take him down in an efficient manner.
He's not only the single strongest unit that we're going to fight in this mission, he's by far and away the single strongest unit in the game. Not just this campaign, but the entire game. He is a monster.
Yeah. So as the sneak attack is coming down, we are setting up our lurkers into the most powerful defensive formation in the entire game. A bridge. Let me explain. This bridge is diagonal up and to the left, but diagonal up and to the left doesn't exist in StarCraft. So if a unit wants to go up and left, it can't go up and left. It goes up and left and up and left. And because of that, when the AI is being attacked by lurkers that they can't see, get really confused and almost always will just turn around or stay in place and continue to get shot. So 3 lurkers on that bridge is an almost insurmountable amount of defense for the AI to try and get through. Outside of the very unlikely scenario that both the Terran and the Protoss attack at the same time and bring detection, but that never happens except in the practice run earlier.
That is confidence-inspiring, let me tell you.
I have all the confidence in the world that that probably won't happen again.
It would be very
Okay, we're
funny.
good. Oh, they're actually both attacking over
wait, they're
the
both
bridge.
there.
But, oh my god,
This is going to be good for Ace.
detection.
He's going to annihilate that attack.
There is an observer there, so the worst has come to pass, but the AI is still really bad, so...
As you can see
glare at me
there,
for
they
jinxing
just
that.
they get... the enemy has really bad pathing as well, so they get stuck on each other while trying to go up and to the left on that bridge, and they're confused about invisible stuff. It is truly the biggest coding mess of all time.
Yeah, this is more of what we expect, where the units just kind of run around and don't do anything. We have to take out both the
Kite.
Terran and the Protoss over the course of this mission, but anytime that we're given an option to attack multiple factions, if Protoss is an option, we're going to pick to choose the Protoss first, because the Protoss are bad. In particular, they start bad. They don't have any good low-tier units that can combat the Hydralisk, but additionally, their high-tier units, like the Reaver and the High Templar with Psystorm, are absolutely ruinous to clustered-up Hydralisks. So we want to make sure that they never have the opportunity to get to those high-tech units. So we do that by backstabbing them first, and then front-stabbing them in later missions.
Did they re-enter that bunker, or did they just not take their troops out of it? Usually they empty their bunkers to try to attack. That's a very weird one.
Sometimes they don't. It's uncommon. Usually they unload most of the bunkers, but not all of the bunkers. So that was the one with the special surprise inside today.
Got it. Yeah, it's the Kinder Eggs of StarCraft 1, which means they're legal in the United States and have to be destroyed.
I thought they were recently made legal in the US.
Oh, were they? Well, Ace, why did you destroy that bunker, dude? That's illegal.
A
So,
foolish oversight. This one apparently had more friends in it too. We're having a great time with... Excuse me? What is he doing here? They are...
Yeah, this is very odd. In StarCraft 1, as we've alluded to, the AI is incredibly inconsistent, but one of the things that they do love doing is taking their defensive bunkers, taking everybody out of them, and then charging them to their doom. And today, there's just a bunch of people randomly running around doing stuff like stabbing Ace's Hydralisks and shooting them from inside bunkers, which is just odd.
Yeah, the left-hand side is not a significant concern. We're going to throw up those units almost incidentally as we're moving on and to attack the lower left-hand base. We are going to mop up the starports here. They have the opportunity to produce things, but they're not a significant concern. They're just kind of one of those things we have to mop up eventually. We're starting to gather up a decent force of Hydralisks. Once we get up to around 100 or so supply, we can start attacking the first outpost on the right-hand side there. And then we're going to make our way through the bottom right-hand side where the Protoss main base is located and absolutely smash them to bits.
As soon as this attack starts, it is going to have an incredible amount of momentum to it that is basically never going to end. This is particularly true because Ace did such a good job at taking down those factories and machine shops during the sneak attack, making sure that the enemies don't have the tools required to actually defend. So as a result, there's only going to be a couple key units that are difficult to deal with.
That unit that we saw there is a Zerg Queen. That is a surprise tool that we'll make use of later.
Yeah, no spoilers. But for this Protoss attack, the first outpost that Ace is going to be dealing with right now really doesn't have anything that impressive in it. And then the second one is going to have what I believe is the first Reaver of the run. And the Reavers are, they're really fun when you're not the one speedrunning.
Yeah, Reavers are giant, lovable caterpillars of doom. They do absolutely monstrous amounts of damage to ground forces, but they have probably the worst AI in the entire game. They can just straight up miss with their attacks because they're very unique compared to a lot of the other attacks in StarCraft. But because of the way that they'll deal damage, they can be actually really hard to deal with. This is the first hard dialogue skip that we got here. And Ace got it perfectly. That would have cost 45 seconds of totally unskippable cutscene. We would be stuck here listening to Kerrigan and Phoenix banter for 45 seconds where we couldn't do anything. You can't issue commands to your army, you can't build, you can't move the map around, you can't even Alt F4 out of the game. I tried.
Rage quitting denied. And I wanted to as well. This was a tough discovery, but we were able to sort it out, and now it's fairly reasonable to do.
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest, the first time that Ectar said that you can't Alt F4 out of it, I thought that he was trolling Ace to try to get him to Alt F4.
The dialogue skip that we do for most of the part is technically frame perfect, but thanks to pause buffering on the F10 key, it's not a mechanically difficult input once you have sort of mastered the rhythm of doing it. But before you have it down consistently, it could be one of those things where you think you have the dialogue skip set up properly, and then you're absolutely disappointed in yourself for missing it again in practice. And yeah, Ace has really got the memory down for that very specific sequence of button presses. But if he ever misses one, that'd be a phenomenal time for donations.
It is miserable sitting through the dialogue, though. There's so much story. Is it, what, 7.5 minutes throughout this entire run full of just amazing dialogue?
We hit the bonus incentive, so it's closer to 9.
Oh, yeah, of course. The secret. There's the first Reaver, and as you can see, in a single shot, it takes down a good 5 or 6 enemy units, or Zerg units, and we're going to be fighting a lot of those later on. They can make a lot of red goo on the floor very quickly, and Ace is going to have to watch out for them. But the fact that he was able to deal with it means that the rest of this Protoss base is going to go down quite easily. Ace is feeling so confident that he's already attacking the Terran base at the same time.
It's definitely that, and not that they path found there. I promise.
Look, sometimes you tell your units where to go, and they say, no, this is where I am needed, and they just find their way into somewhere. All right, we're moving down into the Protoss base. We should have about enough forces to take out the entirety of the rest of the Protoss, so we're not going to be reinforcing into the bottom right too much more. Instead, we were focusing on moving into the bottom left, specifically the top of the bottom left, so that we can make sure that we are nice and in time for hitting the next dialogue. But before that, we're going to go mano-a-mano with our old friend Phoenix.
This is the hardest boss fight in RTS.
And there it is. Well done, Ace.
F's in chat for Phoenix, please.
Now that the greatest threat to the Zerg Swarm has been dealt with, Ace is going to start moving, well, he's into Duke, who is the second of the boss fights, and he's just a little bit AFK under his battlecruiser friends right now.
Yeah, Ace actually is moving so fast, he's going to have to do another dialogue skip immediately after this dialogue skip ends. You can see us positioning the camera so that we can catch the screen scroll right after the previous dialogue ends. You almost never see him actually do dialogue into dialogue because the timing is so much less consistent. You have to know exactly when the dialogue ends to be able to pause buffer the next one. There it is. Very nicely done. Didn't
Well
even see
done.
it start.
Yeah,
was
you can
worse.
check on the left-hand side. All those paragraphs have to be played out. Completely paused game. You can't do anything. You just sit there hating your life for not having skipped it. Ace did a really good job at getting that skip done. Also, he remembered to get drops, which is fantastic because I was planning to remind him if it needed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
shout out once again to Modern Game Design. This is another one of those missions where we have to destroy every single building on the map, and the developers thought it'd be a good idea to put one missile turret on an island that you can't reach with ground forces. You have to either research drops or acquire air units just to take out that one missile turret, otherwise the mission will never end.
Yeah, fortunately, Ace just has it part of his build order to remember to get that drop upgrade because it's really one of those things that you miss once and then you cry yourself to sleep that night and never miss it again.
Or you're fourth on the leaderboard and you miss it every other run and you feel really good about yourself afterwards. All right, so we're just mopping up our way through the rest of the buildings here. There's really not much that can actually defend anymore, so if we have one quick donation, this would be a pretty good time for it.
Excellent. We have $25 from Moose8710 saying, live for the swarm, donate for the cause.
All right, we're just going to mop up the last couple of buildings here, and genuinely, I would love it if we had time for another donation, but we really don't. The next mission starts off really quickly, so we'll have time in the next mission afterwards to take care of a couple more of those. But sincerely, thank you to everyone for has donated towards this one. We really appreciate it.
I'm actually going to start explaining the next mission right now because it does go crazy. So what's going to happen is Ace is going to be attacked instantly from the top and the bottom of the map at the exact same time. He has 5 bases. Four of them are going to be attacked simultaneously, but he has a nice little trick where what he's going to do is use these Zerglings and get them moving on top of each other. So they're now queued to move at each other instead of attack. And one of the enemy attack waves just gets really confused when this happens. They get stuck. Oh, they clipped through. Well, that is unfortunate.
Yeah.
So ideally what should be happening here is that Ace makes a complete tight wall and the enemy doesn't have the ability to move through it. Unfortunately, quantum tunneling is part of StarCraft 1. And as a result, sometimes they do have the ability to just slip through a wall of units. But it looks like it's working properly here.
Sometimes units can move themselves through entirely solid walls, so getting past a couple of Zerglings isn't the most inconsistent thing in the world, but that is one of the most technical tricks in the run, so can we get a round of applause for getting it on the second attempt? Woo! Alrighty, getting into explaining what we're actually doing on this mission, we did lose those 2 outerlying bases, but we have access to the top and the right-hand side. This trick was only discovered about a month ago, maybe 2 months by this point, and it used to be that we would sneak a single drone out and retake that very top base, and that would give us 3 hatcheries worth of production relatively fast. This gives us 4 immediately, so it has substantially improved the speed of this run all by itself. It saves about 90 seconds compared to the old strategy. The objective, as stated by the in-game tooltip for this mission, is destroy the Renegade Zerg, but that isn't the real objective on this mission. You've seen several times already now that we've had a mix of Terran and Zerg enemies. That is because our foes, the UED, have gained control over a portion of the Zerg swarm by controlling a fledgling Overmind. But because the fledgling Overmind isn't fully developed yet, it doesn't have the ability to fully control the Zerg swarm. So they've brought in a series of scientists onto this planet to help coordinate the attacks from the Zerg, and Kerrigan wants to regain control over all of the Zerg forces in the Kumprulu sector. Yes.
Ectar, you have 10 seconds.
I have 10 seconds is plenty. So we're going to take care of all of those scientists, and that's going to allow Kerrigan to regain better control over the Zerg swarm as we watch all of these units just do a disappearing act. There they go.
There we go.
That was
so there is a safety trigger on this mission that exists to make sure that those attacks that hit at the very initial part of the mission don't actually stay there forever. And at the 2-minute mark, they all disappear, except for a couple of the lurkers, which come to siege up the area and protect what is normally supposed to be the enemy's new bases. However, if Ace is quick, and at that 2-minute mark, he does a good job of making space for the lurkers, then they will run past, get themselves destroyed by static defense, and keep all of these bases very safe without having to fight that big attack. Unfortunately, this is going to cause the enemy AI to get very confused. And they're just going to, yep, here is an Ultralisk. they are just going to start acting incredibly inconsistently. Instead of like sending attacks at normal times, they are just going to do whatever they want, whenever they want, send units in random places. And that means that it's going to go maybe well, maybe not. We don't really know, but Ace is going to play it safe as a result.
Yeah, we expect a certain level of aggression from the AI, and Ultralisk at the 2-minute and 45-second mark is remarkably aggressive, so really well done by Ace to hold on to that attack there. Immediately building a couple of additional, thank you very much, a couple of additional sunken colonies just for the extra defense. Once the AI has started attacking that north base, we expect that they're probably going to attack it a couple more times, so thanks to the AI for letting us know that they're planning on doing that. Here's the trigger from Duran, letting us know that we have to attack over into the Terran base in the right-hand side over there. There's a Zerg base to the north and the south of it, as well as our main base is on an island, so we don't currently have a good way to get there by ground. Luckily, the Overlords serve triple time is also working as our dropships.
And dropships, they are going to need to be. One of the great things about Zerg is all you have to do is get that dropship upgrade once, and every single Overlord is transformed, which means it's a very good budget way to Uber yourself around the entire map. And that is exactly what Ace is going to do. Instead of going from one side to the other via the ground route, he's going to take an enormous army and fly it right to the enemy base.
The Overlords are flying units. They're clearly a lift, not an Uber. Alrighty, so we're going to build up about a control group and a half worth of Overlords full of Zerglings, but if we've got time for 1 or 2 donations, this would be decent as well.
Of course, we have
minutes.
$50 from Disharray saying, a few years ago, I had a roommate named 7thAce who played an unhealthy amount of StarCraft and StarCraft 2. Funny enough, the runner tonight reminds me a lot of him. Ace, it's great to see those long hours put to such a great cause. Go show everyone the might of the swarm. Now, how about a rousing round of the song 3-3 Air? We got time for...
3 Air. Shout out to the Tempo fans in the chat. I know you exist. Yeah, we got time for one more.
All right, we have $25 from Daft7. Hi, Ace. Happy to be on the couch for back-to-back nights. Have a great run, and shout-outs to Miku.
Alrighty, so we are just researching our Overlord speed upgrade. As you can see, these guys move at about glacial speed. So once that is going to be finished, we're going to be moving out with our drop here. We also got all of these Zergling upgrades, which makes their attack and movement speed substantially faster. And once all of those upgrades complete, we're going to be moving out for our main attack. We don't have enough forces to actually destroy the entirety of that Terran base, so we have to very selectively focus fire on the scientists, as well as taking out high priority units, in particular the Lurkers. The Lurkers will shred through our Zerglings, so we need to make sure to take out those and really focus on the scientists. And I thought I had more to that thought, and it just abruptly ended.
Just like the scientists will.
Here at StarCraft Speedrunning, we do not condone the wholesale elimination of these scientists. I am a scientist myself. Please be kind.
As an engineer,
only 30 at a time.
No comment. All right, we're going to finish up loading the last couple of these Overlords and start moving out with our army. I think we've got all of our upgrades. Mm-hmm. All right, upgrades complete, and we're going to be moving out our Overlords, and we're going to drop a quick safety save, and then it will be all bedlam as soon as we get in there and start dropping our units out.
Yep.
One thing worth noting in StarCraft 1. Oh.
Go on. I'm building just a couple extra here. I would love to be moving right now, but this attack, as Ectar said, is absolute bedlam, chaos to the maximum, so I'm grabbing just a couple extra just so I'm A-okay.
Marathon safety strats are fast.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, the attack itself is crazy, but also in StarCraft 1 mechanically, using the drop function on any sort of dropship is absolutely horrible. It is a very unresponsive and difficult to use ability. And as a result, Ace has practiced this quite a bit, and he's going to be using some very specific places to drop, but just getting these hundreds of Zerglings out of these Overlords is going to be the first issue before the fight even begins. And of course, as soon as they start dropping, the enemy is not going to be happy and is going to start taking them out.
Yeah, and whenever we see that the Zerg is more aggressive in the north base, they tend to also be more aggressive in defending on the white Terran base. So all heck is going to break loose as soon as we start dropping in here. It will be absolute chaos. Absolutely required safety save. Implementing drop shift queuing to make sure all of our units get out on time. Focusing so that we can drop the units that are being attacked first so we don't lose any Zerglings as the drop is going out. You can see all of the men without guns are the scientists, and those are the ones that we are looking to kill here. Death to the science men.
This is a very difficult attack because it is just not consistent. The way that the scientists work is each of them has a preordained patrol path. However, as soon as the fighting starts, they completely abandon those paths and they just run around like they're confused and lost, just like I am normally. And it is very difficult to keep track of them because they're some of the smallest units and they are completely clad in white, so they kind of just blend in with things. As a result, we're going to have to keep an eye out. There's one in the Ultra Pen.
There's two in the
There you
Ultra
go,
Pen.
very nice.
There's always scientists in the Ultra Pen.
There's always scientists in the banana stand.
There's 3 scientists, 2 scientists left. You can see in the top left, Ace is doing an amazing job. Only a single scientist left, and he...
Got him.
Nice. That was a great attack. Sometimes in that attack, you can spend 10, 15 seconds at the very end trying to find a single renegade scientist. Ace did a fantastic job of locating all 30 and eliminating them quickly.
So we've had a couple of macro missions in a row. This is definitely a micro mission. On this mission, we have to bring Samir to run our infested Terran ghost unit, very nice, to 5 different beacons around the map. And he's going to be placing explosive charges at each of 5 locations. And once we've done all of that, he's going to set them off and destroy the city of Telemetros because we are such good guys.
We're keeping that up, huh? Even after the betrayal mission?
Of course. We are controlling
All right.
the pieces. We're the protagonists, clearly.
This is the most difficult part of the mission, in my opinion. There are a bunch of Reavers. He cannot take a single shot from any of them. Duran has the ability to cloak. However, there's a bunch of invisible people that can actually see him that are patrolling around. Unfortunately, they're very hard to point out to a stream. But, you know, Ace just casually threaded the needle, dodged all of them, and got 2 of those Reavers locked down, touched himself on the point, and got out like a boss.
Ace has a success rate of like 80% on that first beacon point. Nobody else has above 50. It's incredible how consistent he's gotten at that trick specifically. Because Duran is going to be cloaked for the majority of the mission, we have to make sure to take out all of the enemy's detection. This photon cannon is a detector. He can see Duran even while he's cloaked. You can see he's kind of translucent right now. That means most units can't actually attack onto him. We're going to be bringing Duran into the second beacon point after having taken out the photon cannon. There's a possibility that there are observers, which are cloaked observing units that can be in this base. We don't have any in this attempt, so we don't have to worry about that. But it is more likely on the third beacon point, which we're going to use another series of 10 Zerglings to take out another cannon so we can take Duran onto that point as well.
Yeah, there is a lot of potential damage that Ace can be taking in this mission from just random enemies running around. If he gets spotted for even a moment, Duran takes a giant chunk out of his life, and he needs that for the very end of the mission. He cannot afford to take almost any of it. So being able to tactically take down stuff like these cannons to stop detection and identify where all the cloaked observers are is very important.
Yeah, we can see that there is an observer in this third base. We're bringing an Overlord in just so that if it sticks around, we can shoot it, which should cause it to run away. We took 1 DT swipe, but that should be absolutely fine as long as the observer did run away like we think that it did. Allow us to get onto the third point without taking any almost any additional damage. And we're going to start taking our remaining existent forces, and we're going to go down onto a bridge, the dreaded defensive unit that the enemies are now employing against us. We're going to consume the Overlords because we are done producing army units for the rest of this mission. We're going to use our Zerglings and Hydralisks to try to snipe out a photon cannon and then run past so we can get on towards the 4th beacon point, which you can see the 4th and 5th are both located in the top left-hand corner. We're actually not under attack in our main right now, which is very unusual.
Yeah, it's because they're following me, and I'm actually about to lose this attack if I'm not speedy right now, so I've got to really move.
Just be speedy right now.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Well, he did a really good job at taking down that photon cannon, and it does look like Ace is going to get a couple Zerglings past. That's one of the most important things, is Duran himself and a couple of Zerglings getting through that area across the bridge. And honestly, good management by Ace right there.
Yeah, for additional reliability, oftentimes our main is getting attacked on this map, so we will set a proxy extractor way out onto the left-hand side, just in case our main is under attack. We are being attacked now, but it shouldn't be a significant concern. If all of our buildings do go down, we do lose the mission. as well as if Duran gets taken out, obviously we lose the mission as well. We sneak by onto the third point, taking a reasonable amount of damage, but a very acceptable amount. The enemy forces actually don't share vision, so even though we could see that there was detection, only half of the Protoss forces could see us at that time. We need at least 100 health to make the dive onto the final beacon, but we've got way more than that, so it should be smooth sailing. Hashtag no caster curse.
This is the
Ace honestly
scariest
did
mission.
incredibly there. This is by far and away the most annoying mission. I think everybody kind of agrees with that, and Ace completely just dominated it, did a great job. Now what he's going to do is pause buffer a dialogue line, and after it finishes, he's going to get invulnerability, and now he's safe, and he did it. Really nicely done with that mission, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the one I am most scared for, outside of the first one when the nerves really kick in.
Yeah, you crushed it.
Now we get to see a little bit of cinematic as the city of Telematros blows up with all of its civilians inside. Because we're the good guys.
They should have gone solar, not pylon.
All right, this is to slay the beast. As mentioned on a previous mission, the UED has gained control over a fledgling Overmind, and Kerrigan is done messing around. She wants to regain control over the entirety of the Zerg swarm, so we're going to kill that fledgling Overmind to regain control over everything. However, this is one of those missions where we have to, the objective is to kill exactly one building. And if you give a speedrunner the objective to kill one thing, they're going to kill one thing and literally nothing else. So we're going to build up a massive drop attack, fly it all the way across the map, and take care of exactly the Overmind, and that will be the end of the mission. For lore reasons, we require Dark Templar, which are these kind of ghosty ninja-looking guys, to be in proximity when the Overmind gets taken out. That is why we have access to a couple of Dark Templar. Well, really, we've captured the leader of the Dark Templar and are holding her against her will so that we can force the Dark Templar into helping us on this mission, but we're doing it for a good cause. We're taking out the Overmind because we're the good guys.
Semantics.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. It's honestly just babysitting.
Grant, I'm very scared what that implies.
If I ever have a child, you're not watching them.
They're Dark Templar. You can't watch them anyway. They're invisible.
Alrighty, so there's a lot about what we could be saying about the build order on this mission. It's one of the most build order specific missions on the whole run, but it's also about as close as we get to an auto-scroller because we're really just kind of limited by the amount of Vespene gas that we can mine. So if we've got another couple of donations, this would be a fantastic time for a good string of them.
Sure thing. We have $100 from Chess Looter. Love to see StarCraft and RTS at GDQ. You could not have asked for a better runner/commentator team. Best of luck on your run of love and justice. We have $50 from I Am Aramis the Great. Save the Zerg, kill the Terrans. Wait, I think I'm confusing this with another game. Anywho, good luck on the run, Ace. And we have $15 from Jack. That's a lot of dead Zerglings. It's tearing me apart that more people aren't rushing to donate this run. I, for one, am having a brood time being an observer of StarCraft at GDQ. Hydra like to siege it more in the future and have more people swarm that donate button. Thanks for playing one of my favorite games of all time, and I hope you don't overmind all these puns.
If I've learned anything about this audience, they love puns.
We have $25 from Digital Deer. Spawn more donations. And if you're looking for an incentive to put those towards, there is a 100% category upgrade for The Legend of Zelda tomorrow that you can put those towards. We got time for a couple more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. We got $25 from Scott. Let's go, Ace. Pray to the god of diagonals for good pathing. And $5 from Clawmaster. StarCraft has always been a favorite of mine in the Blizzard library of games, and very hyped to see it being speedrun this year. If the announcer can scream, "My life for ire," I will donate another $5. Best of luck on the run, 7thAce. Can you pronounce that for me really quick?
My life for ire.
My life for ire. Thank you. We have $10 from DJ Overmind. Serve the Hive. I control the groove. Serve the Hive. I control the way you move. Another $10 if we can hear the real thing. Good luck on the run, 7thAce.
Are we allowed to do that?
As a
Probably not.
No,
But the spirit is there.
And unfortunately, the audio is horribly balanced on it, so you actually can't hear it. The music's been playing pretty much the entire time, but that one plays like 10 decibels lower. It's actually really disappointing.
Yeah, for anyone that's not aware, there's a cheat code in the game that plays a secret song called Radio Free Zerg. But we can't actually play it here during the run, but if you've never heard it, go look it up on YouTube. It's a real jam.
Definitely a bop. We have $50 from Doppler Fire. 7thAce, no brooding allowed, even from a state that is okay. Wishing you and your couch cohorts the best of luck in a great run of Brood Wars.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
And we're not going to dox you by revealing your true location since you've moved.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I would hope that's the standard we can hold ourselves to.
Go ahead.
And we have $15 from the Astro. Zerg hype. Shout outs to all the runners, hosts, magical tech wizards, and attendees who make GDQ a wonderful experience.
So on this mission, we've gotten all the way up to Hive Tech, and this is where we actually start building the units that we're going to be using for the attack. We've thrown down the Ultralisk Cavern and the Defiler Den. The Defiler is maybe the most overpowered unit in RTS, period. Not in the StarCraft franchise, in all of real-time strategy. They have an ability called Dark Swarm, which is a big orange cloud that makes all of the units that are under it totally immune to ranged damage. They can still be hit by Splash, so things like the Lurkers can still hit in their area of effect damage, but all of the Marines we've been dealing with are totally unable to deal damage to units that are under a Dark Swarm. And that is going to be the singular reason that we're able to make this absolute mess of an engagement onto the final objective.
And a mess it will be. This is one of those missions where Ace is going to have a fraction of what he would actually need in order to defeat his opponents if he fought them straight up. Instead, it's probably about 1/15 the strength of the enemy, and he is going to have to use that to dive and take the Overmind out before the Dark Swarm that is going to protect him expires. And he has to make sure that he dodges all of the area effect attacks on his Dark Templar, who are very fragile. It's going to be rough. And as a result, he's going to get a lot of very, very durable Ultralisks to help the attack. The Ultralisk is one of the highest tier. It's basically the Zerg version of a capital ship, and instead of flying, it's dummy thick and it runs around with its little blade things and attacks everybody. It's great. And he's going to be making 8 of them in order to soak up the shots as he gets his damage-dealing Dark Templar onto the point.
Yeah, the enemy have access to like 200 supply worth of army, and we attack them with 14 total units. 15 if you want to include the Defiler, who's not actually a combative unit in the slightest. We're taking one of our Overlords with drops upgraded, and we're going to drop down a hatchery so we can make use of the Nidus Canal once again. All of the Zerg units that we're going to be using in this attack are going to go through the Nidus Canal. Unfortunately, protest units can't go through the Nidus Canal, so we have to ship them across the map the old-fashioned way. But it's just a lot faster when we can use that for our Zerg units to actually get them across.
It's always been a weird little lore discrepancy that the Protoss refuse to use a biological tunnel, but instead they're okay loading themselves into the ventral sacs of an Overlord and be floated over. But, you know, whatever works.
I can't think of a thing to bounce off of that, so I'm just going to ignore the mental image of loading myself into a ventral sac entirely.
Well, you know what? That's
focus on
fine,
this
because I
defense.
actually have a very important StarCraft lore question for you guys while we're doing things. So in the UED campaign, which is the one that happens before this, the UED takes control of the Overmind using neurostim drugs. Are they just giving Monster Energy drink to the Overmind and that's why he transferred sides?
I think it's Red Bull. Like, even the UED aren't cruel enough to use Monster Energy.
Oh my, you're taking sides here. I did not expect that answer.
I'm here to make enemies, man. We actually got a big attack coming
so
in
is
from the
Ace.
infested Terran. Blows up that spawning pool in its entirety. Thankfully, we don't actually need it for anything at this point. But that attack can be really scary if it comes in and hits our army. If it blows up onto one of our Ultralisks, it can take one out in its entirety. They're a very scary unit. Yeah, we can't actually produce a sunken colony here, but shouldn't be a significant issue. We still have defensive units in position to deal with any additional attacks. The only way that we lose this mission is if we lose all of our Dark Templar as well as the production structures required to produce them. But given how quickly the attack moves out, it's very uncommon for them to actually attack those buildings in particular and for us not to have enough defenses to take care of them.
So Ace is getting ready for that attack. The Nidus is about to finish, allowing him to instantly transport these Ultralisks across, and then once again, he's going to have to use the drop feature on the Overlord, which once again is going to be an absolute mess. This is one of those times he's going to have to take a safety save, and then the attack is going to happen very, very quickly. And I will try to keep everyone tuned in for what's going on.
Yeah, just
First, he is pre-positioning those Overlords to make sure that they all drop things in the correct way, having the Ultralisks, who are tanky, be near the enemies and the squishy guys kind of away from them. Now he's going to drop that orange carpet, which is going to keep everybody safe. Ultralisks are going to pop out, and he's going to skim up the right-hand side in order to charge right over to that Overmind. He is going to hopefully get those Lurkers to unburrow. Yes, unburrowed Lurkers are fantastic. He's going to run in. You can see the Dark Templar on the right side are now going to come in as the Ultras have taken a lot of damage, and he has to reload because his Defiler was unfortunately killed before it could drop a Dark Swarm.
Yeah, he dropped the first Dark Swarm, but we really, really need to get one onto the Overmind itself. A couple of Ultralisks not actually in the control group. Really unfortunate there. Making our way over onto the Overmind. We did get the Dark Swarm off this time. We've got 6 Ultralisks on position. Save the applause until the Overmind goes down. This is still scary if the Dark Templar gets sniped out. Ace is frantically spam clicking onto the... there we go. Got it.
Very nice.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Zeratul
that
comes
is such
in
a technically complex attack.
Zeratul's going to come in and kill Steal, so thanks for that. This portion of dialogue is the only dialogue where we have one that we don't skip in the entire run just because it's too short.
Wrong mission.
Wrong mission, dang it. Just play faster and then my mental clock will be right.
I'm trying my best, Ectar.
This is normally where we have it pre-programmed into the commentary to check for the incentives, but because you guys are fantastic, we hit that before the run even started, so thank you very much. After the end of this mission, assuming we have at least 5 minutes remaining on the clock in the top-hand corner, we'll be able to move on to the bonus objective, the bonus mission, Dark Origin.
Yeah, this mission is a very, very tight deadline, 30 minutes in order to defeat a very powerful Protoss base. Ace is going to need all 6 of those minutes, and he's going to have to use all of the Zerg technology that he has available. Fortunately, the game does start with everything. Yeah, all the tech, and he's going to actually use most of it, which is nice. Well, some of it.
We start off with a really cool unit, the Guardian. It is the giant crab in the sky, and it is a long-range bombardier unit that we're going to use to clean off the high ground, and then we're going to do a lot of AI manipulation over the course of this level. But first, we need to get a little bit of an economy, and we need to research Overlord drops so we can take our forces across this lava lake and drop them on the other side of the ravine there. North and south of our bases, there's actually Terran bases that we're just completely not going to engage with at all. The objective of this mission is to take out all of the Protoss buildings. So as mentioned during the previous mission, we had kidnapped the the Dark Templar Matriarch, and we're using that to press the Dark Templar into our service to take out the Overmind. At the end of the mission, Zeratul took the Matriarch and is trying to escape with her off of the planet Char. Well, Kerrigan took that personally, so we're going to do everything we can to stop them from refueling and de-icing the planes over the next 30 minutes so that we can retake the Protoss Matriarch.
Yeah, currently the Protoss are checking the windows, making sure that everything is good to go. 30 minutes is a nice long time, though, to do it. And he is going to be building what is effectively a base behind the Protoss in order to reinforce more quickly. Because he could use these Overlords very slowly to go back and forth and drop. However, it would be a pain in the butt, particularly because he's building a lot of units. So it's better to just build a new base over here, a new hatchery.
One of the things that's really interesting about the StarCraft AI, in particular the campaign AI, is that it's designed to be beaten. For that reason, whenever you attack a base, they defend with approximately the same strength of army. So if you attack them with everything, they'll try to defend with everything. We're going to make usage of that built-in mechanic to peel out small fractions of the defense here. We're using the Guardians to just poke at a couple of buildings, bring a couple of units over at a time, and deal with them piecemeal instead of trying to deal with the whole army at the same time. This Archon is pretty scary, but if we take it out quickly, it can't deal a lot of damage to our Guardians. We had the capability of producing more Guardians, but we intentionally attack with less than we have to convince the AI to attack us with less than they have. Our real objective at this part of the mission is to pull out Reavers. There's 3 of them that we need to take out, and with 4 Guardians, we 3-shot the Reavers, and we need to peel them out from their base so we can take care of them before we clean up the rest of the base with a whole flood of Zerglings.
Yeah, this is a very delicate dance that Ace is doing, and there's the first Reaver. Oh, whoa, why didn't that kill anything?
It's because the primary missile hit the Ultralisk and it only splashed lightly onto the Hydralisk, so it didn't take out any of the Hydralisks. He's trying to get into range, but they're currently being attacked by the Lurkers, and that's really messing with the AI because they don't have detection nearby because we sniped it out with our Hydralisks. So the Reaver got well within range to attack us, but just didn't because they're not smart enough to figure out how.
But fortunately, Ectar is smart enough to tell us exactly what is going on. Ace is doing a very good job. There's only 2 Reavers left in this base, and once they are gone, he is able to absolutely go crazy with his army. He is making a Nidus so that he can transport a large number of Zerglings over, and then they are going to nom through this base in seconds. That's Reaver number 2. Ooh, Scout got pulled.
Yeah, we have enough anti-air forces to deal with it. Because the Reaver can only attack ground forces, we need to occasionally step forward and attack with our ground units to encourage them to come and attack us with the Reavers. We can't commence the attack proper until we've taken care of all of those Reavers, but they are really not behaving today.
Fortunately, most of the stuff has been dealt with. Ace is so close to being ready. There's that final Reaver. He's just chilling right there, looking at the starport. Oh, 2 Reavers, yeah.
Yeah, one of them actually ran all the way back deep into the base, losing a Guardian there. At this point, not the biggest deal in the world. They don't have much anti-air defense left, so there is a lot of work that the Guardians can still put into there. Take out the Dark Templar because they do a lot of damage. Did that just pick up? They just picked up the Reavers.
Yeah, they just double picked it up and then
I've never seen them do that on this mission.
Oh! These shots are very, very painful. However, the pickup is actually really good. It's going to guarantee that they are gone, and now Ace is actually able to make the fight happen, taking advantage of the AI being very quirky once again. And yeah, this is basically the end of their defenses. There's a couple very high technology enemy units in this base, such as this Dark Archon that is a very powerful spellcaster. But unfortunately, it doesn't have any spells researched yet. So instead, it's going to be the most expensive brick on the planet.
Yeah, the big the big red marshmallows just kind of run around and get attacked. We're actually not even trying to attack him. We only need to take out the buildings here. We didn't even have time to mention the carrier that Ace sniped out because the Reavers were so deep in the base that we actually dealt with the carrier first. I've literally never seen that happen in dozens of runs that Ace has done.
You said the thing.
Really, really good recovery from Ace. So even though it was a really wonky attack, getting the attack done in 550 is actually an incredible time.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Taking advantage of weird scenarios is one of the most important things that you can do as a StarCraft 1 runner, and Ace did it wonderfully right there. Made sure that the Guardians were targeting things down instantly as soon as the weird drop thing happened.
And this is the cutscene that has the only dialogue that we don't skip the entire run because it's just not worth it.
Make sure you guys are paying attention to the lore right now. It will be on the test.
What?
There's a test?
And thanks to your generosity and Ace playing through the game a little bit quicker than the 25-minute timer, we have the bonus objective unlock, where for the first and only time in the run, we get to play with the Protoss pieces.
If you remember last mission when the giant red cotton ball who didn't do anything showed up, well, we're actually going to get 4 of them, and they're going to completely invalidate this mission in about 10 seconds. Here they go. All right, boys. This is the Dark Archon. It has the ability to mind control things. The enemy has a giant fortress that normally you're supposed to very slowly peel through and get to a bunch of points. Instead, we're not going to do that. Oh, that was very close. But you got the attack off, right?
Mm-hmm. We have a kill on Zeratul.
All right, so because the invisible unit attacked, the enemy is going to now send a detector. This detector is a science vessel, which is a spellcaster who has the ability to apply a shield. The shield is going to be applied to Zeratul, who has to get to a point at the very end, and the final Dark Archon. This Dark Archon is the only one that has mind control remaining. Each of them can do it once in this mission, because, well, they could regenerate for like 5 minutes if they want to do another. And then very, very, very nicely, he's going to chill out right here, and eventually an enemy dropship is going to be like, oh, hey. And then he's going to steal the dropship and just float to the end. Apparently with a medic.
We'll save the medic.
Shout out to you as public transit.
So now all Ace has to do is very, very casually float. Oh, there's a battle cruiser.
He's not normally there.
Yes,
This
he
is fine.
Yes, he is.
I mean, he's normally around, but he's not normally that far. We missed the dialogue. It is literally faster
no.
to reload the mission if we could than it is to go through this dialogue. So if you've got like 9 donations, we've got the time.
You have 2.5 minutes for this.
Oh, I got you. No worries.
It's just for the donos, I promise.
We have $50 from Faye. Loving this Brood War run. Dedicating this donation to my partner, who is a huge StarCraft nerd and introduced me to the joy of watching pro-level StarCraft and StarCraft 2 with Xur. Because of Xur awesome info dumps, I'm able to follow the speedrun way better than I otherwise could have. Both our families have been affected by cancer, and I'm so happy to see all the money raised for PCF every AGDQ. Good luck to Ace, and thanks to Ectar and Grant for the great couch commentary, putting this donation towards the Legend of Zelda 100% run, which we're getting closer to, by the way, so if you need an incentive. And we have $5 from Clawmaster. Clawmaster here again. All right, here's my other $5 as promised. Great work on the run, and you guys nailed the scream for My Life for Ire. This week is nothing but watching games done quick, and I will be watching as much as I can. We have $25 from Captain Snuggles. My donation for Ire. Thank you, Captain Snuggles. $15 from Calamina01. StarCraft makes my brain go brrr. Same. This is incredible.
I'm loving the sheer volume of StarCraft-related donations. It really warms my heart, just as much as this room needs to be warmed up a little bit.
It's a teensy bit chilly, for sure. We have $50 from PKR Player for Life, which is Poker Player for Life. Love that StarCraft is here with the best campaign players. Thanks to all for keeping the custom games alive.
You have 4 more lines, so maybe one more time.
Okay, $50 from Emily saying, more Brood War, please. And I think we have a little bit more for you, Emily.
Yep, we have the biggest, most epic final mission to complete coming up. So it is the longest mission, but it's also just one of my favorites to play. It is really, really cool.
Yeah, so after that bonus incentive, and again, thank you for donating so we get to play it, we go on to Omega, the biggest, most macro map in the entire game, probably in the entirety of StarCraft's and StarCraft 2. A lot of the other missions have a trick or a cool strat that really enables us to mess with the AI or to get through the mission in a creative way that the developers didn't intend. There's no such thing here for Omega. This is just approximately 16 minutes of really good StarCraft and one tiny little cheat code.
Do it, Ace. Show them the power.
Power
Show them that
overwhelming.
landmines mean nothing to you.
We have no idea why that works. It just does.
Yeah, for some reason in StarCraft 1, standing under various terrariums makes you immune to landmines. That's just how it works. Probably the first thing they coded into the game, honestly.
Disclaimer, we here at the RTS speedrunning community do not encourage standing on landmines. Already. In this mission, we have 3 enemy factions to deal with. We've fought each of them individually before, but we are here to take them on in a 1 versus 3. To the southeast, we've got the Protoss. To the north, we have the United Earth Directorate, the White Terran, and in the left/bottom left, we have the Red Terran, the Terran Dominion. The Terran Dominion are the world's most powerful enthusiast of siege tanks. The United Earth Directorate have high tier and very powerful air units, and there's also the Protoss.
It is true. The Protoss are participating. They are getting that trophy, and they are feeling good about it. Honestly, if you're like, a StarCraft content creator and you think that StarCraft 1 Protoss is too strong, you're just wrong. They're so easy to they're so easy to destroy that they are going to get knocked out first once again, just like every other time in the StarCraft 1 speedrunning of this campaign. It is going to be, it's just kind of sad at this point. I feel bad for the Protoss.
I don't.
Wow. Wow.
So we get an attack from each of the 3 enemy commanders. We already absorbed the blue Protoss attack as well as the red Terran attack. The white Terran attack should be coming in any time now, but that is enough time for us to move out and take our first base to the south. We're also going to be taking a 3rd base to the north. This is the only mission where we take 3 bases and actually build stuff with all of the resources that we're acquiring here. And as soon as we get all of our upgrades and all of our army, it is just going to be go, 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 nothing but gas, taking out all of the bases. And unlike the other sort of kill everything on the map missions that we've done so far, all of the other ones were set up in a really nice way so you can go from base to base to base, really without stopping as long as you keep building here. This mission is designed very differently. Each of the disparate bases are very segmented apart from each other. There's almost no intermingling in area. So once we've committed enough forces to take out one of the enemy commanders, we've really stop reinforcing on that area and really just start railing into an extra area. And we want to make sure that we thread the needle of have enough attacks so that we can actually complete our attack and pulling units so we can begin attacking the next commander even before the previous one falls.
In order to execute these very complicated attack maneuvers that Ectar was talking about, Ace is going to need an army, and he needs a pretty diverse set of things to help him out here. He's going to need a long-range damage dealer. That's going to be the Hydralisk. He's going to need someone that is tanky enough to take a couple enemy siege tank shots before dropping. He's going to use the Hydralisk for that. He needs someone that is pretty fast and well controllable, so he's going to be using the Hydralisk. And then he needs someone that's really easy to make, someone that's super cheap. So he's going to be making some Hydralisks to help out. It's a very diverse and strategically complex army composition, and hopefully it's going to get him through it, but he has to make sure that he keeps the balance of these units perfectly in tune.
Don't forget, we also need to take care of some units that are up on some unpathable terrain, so we need some overlords to drop Hydralisks.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot.
This mission is a little bit better designed than a lot of the previous kill a bunch of stuff missions. We don't actually have to destroy every enemy building on the map, thank God. We only have to destroy the enemy production structures. So for the Terran, that is going to be things like the command centers, the barracks, the factory, and the starport. And for the Protoss, it's going to be the Nexus, the Stargate, the Gateway, and the robotics facility. Every other building is superfluous, and we will take out only as a matter of course. They're not our objective in any way. So as soon as we have the sufficient forces to prioritize taking out those buildings in particular, that is going to be the main focus here of our attacks.
But before he can attack, Ace does need to set up a few defenses, particularly at his expansions. The enemies can be very aggressive here, and they can do some serious bits of damage pretty quickly. So getting a bunch of sunken colonies around, their colonies, yeah, in this game,
yes,
is going to be very important. And then he'll never have to really look at his base defense again. But if he doesn't do it, the enemy will just drop things in the most random places, like behind his mineral lines in unpathable locations, and just be menaces to society. So a little bit of static defense goes a long way in cutting down the frustration time on this mission.
Yeah, the sunken colony is one of the strongest things that the Zerg are able to produce, and even just 2 of them can almost always adequately hold against the AI attacks, but even if it isn't, it allows us to assess the situation, bring our forces in, and deal with it in due time. So we're going to be setting up a couple of additional sunken colonies here, taking that 3rd gas. We need all the gas in the world for all of these Hydralisks and their upgrades, as well as getting Overlord speed, because the Protoss have continued access to the Dark Templar, so we need detection, as well as eventually Overlord drops to take care of a couple of buildings on the high ground. This mission features 0 hero units, so it is all just our army versus their army. There's very little in the way of tricks on this mission. It is just be better than the AI, and God knows 12-year-old me was not better than the AI.
I think you are forgetting about the 9 hero siege tanks in this mission, sir.
I wish it was only 9. I wish so much it was only 9.
I thought it was 9 in that one group.
In that one group, yes, they start with 13 more.
Yeah, I mean, those are just normal siege tanks, though. It's the 9 heroes that go together as a warband of power, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The AI,
they're going to be really fun.
If attacked in particular locations, they'll bring their forces in to defend. This is a kind of manipulation that we're really looking forward to, because siege tanks, when they're unsieged, are really not a fantastic unit. So if we can convince them to come to us, that makes our attack a lot stronger. But if they get re-sieged up again, it can be absolutely nightmarish to deal with. So we'll be seeing that when we get into the attack on the third player, but for now we are finished producing workers, we are working on our upgrades, and we are starting to put Hydralisks into a location and get them onto our various hotkeys so we can begin our attack onto the blue Protoss.
One of the reasons that Ace does use a large number of Hydralisks in this is because it is a lot easier to control than using Zerglings in tandem with them. The Zergling is very fast, does a lot of damage, though the durability is low, but they are about 1/4 the price, which means you have 4 times as many as you would Hydralisks, and as we said before, you only have 10 hotkeys of 12 units each, which is already way too much to manage. But in this mission, you can easily pop out 500 Zerglings. And it's just like, oh, well, not at one time, I guess. But like 300 at a time isn't even that unreasonable, and it's too tough to manage. So the Hydralisk is a really nice mid-rounder that is kind of good against everything, and you can actually move groups of.
Yeah, Zerglings are so biologically deficient that they actually produce 2 at a time, which is why I've got 2 of them on the couch here joining me, because Zerglings always spawn in pairs.
My friend, that is not biologically deficient, that's biologically efficient.
Yeah. You know, when you're right, you're right. You are definitely right about that. We hit this tiny little outpost here. It is barely of consequence, almost not defended at all. And then we're going to move on down here. We didn't get the drop reaver that we sometimes get, but we do have a couple of potentially hallucinated carriers. So if this guy poofs out of existence, you know that he was, in fact, not real. He was, in fact, not real, so...
yeah, the Protoss AI here does some very weird things. This is because they start with pre-programmed units that are set, but they don't necessarily have the upgrades to use the good abilities on them yet. For example, the High Templar has an amazing ability called Psystorm. Doesn't have it researched, but it does have energy, so it'll just make fake units with the hallucination spell instead that don't do anything and just like kind of confuse you for a bit.
It's fine. Nobody has ever lost a professional game of StarCraft to hallucinated units.
It is true. Never happened before.
All right, we're moving on through to kind of the meat of the Protoss base. This is where a lot of their defenses lie. They do have a secondary base even farther south, but this is kind of where their first defenses lie. They really actually don't have a lot, though. Like, I like to rag on the Protoss because it's funny, but also they're just not good at defending themselves from the Zerg attacks. Like, we've barely lost anything. As we've been attacking, our supply has only gone up. So we're going to be swinging on through even further south, but there is genuinely not a lot that we need to do for reinforcements on here. You can see Ace threw down a Nidus Canal. That's going to connect our main and our third base to the north. We are already working on reinforcing our army for starting on our UED attack.
Yeah, Ace is feeling pretty good right now against this Protoss base. He's building up, and he's going to be striking that UED base in the top right before anything has been cleared out, or before the main Protoss base has been cleared out.
Yeah, the bottom right-hand base attack is going very well. We're just working on building up our next force. We can watch this happen a little bit, but really it's just 1A all day on this attack down here. There's genuinely not a lot left to defend. There's one carrier, a couple of cannons, and then really it's just cleanup duty on the rest of that attack. And the attack onto both of the Terran bases is genuinely a lot more interesting because they try not to be killed, unlike the Protoss.
Yeah, the UED attacks and the Minsk attack at the very end are a lot less consistent than this Protoss base. You always kind of know exactly what's going to be showing up here. There's a Reaver. Nice. Those things, if you're not paying attention right there, that could sit in the back and blow up all of his Hydralisks, but because he dealt with it, he now knows that it is safe to go and start charging the UED over here. There are going to be some siege tanks that have to be taken out. Some battle cruisers will be able to absorb a lot of the damage. However, I think that oh, where are those Hydras going? Welcome to StarCraft 1 pathing.
Yeah, creative pathfinding is definitely something that you have to manually deal with sometimes. If you tell a unit to go to a place that it can't get, it doesn't necessarily try to pathfind to the closest pathable location. It'll just go somewhere. So you really have to make sure you're giving intelligent commands to all of your units. Focus firing down these 2 siege tanks, really making sure that we take minimal damage. We want to coax this battle cruiser off of the high ground so it doesn't have that 47% miss chance. But really nicely done making sure we take out the high value siege tanks. Although the UED do a better job of holding off our attacks than the Protoss do, once we have beaten their outer defenses, there's really not a lot of additional defenses they can muster. As we said, the AI tries to respond in kind with the strength of their defense to our offense. So once we're attacking with overwhelming force, if we defeat all of their outer defenses, once we've sort of cracked that outer crunchy exterior, we get to the delicious meat inside and really get to destroy all of their buildings.
There are a lot of inconsistencies in these attacks too. For example, the way that the enemy will use spells. We saw here that they actually use the defensive matrix shield on one of their dropships instead of, for example, a high-value target like a siege tank or a battlecruiser. Those sorts of things can be very nice and make life feel a lot nicer for cleaning everything up here. And as Ectar said, this is actually their main base, but because they sent everything to defend, they have like one battlecruiser and a fire bat, an easy cleanup.
Yeah, you can see we're already sending forces back towards our mains to start building up our attack onto the Terran Dominion. By far the scariest single foe that we face in the entirety of the mission. Actually this time, not like we meme against with Phoenix. Mengsk is by far the most competent defender in the entirety of StarCraft, and genuinely takes a full maxed out army with a subsequent remax to take out, even for a very skilled player like Ace. We still have to actually get the dialogue to pop up on the UED. We actually saw it pop up earlier for the Protoss, Artanis letting us know that his forces have surrendered and will contribute no more into the fight. Thankfully, it's not a dialogue that we need to skip. Developers wanted this mission to just be gas, 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 so we're just going, and these attacks never stop once they start. No high ground tank is very nice for us this time. We're going to snipe out the low ground tank there. Really nicely done. That can be a really difficult thing to deal with if the enemy decides to put a defensive matrix on it. This attack is starting really nicely, and we're still right up near that 200 out of 200 supply, focusing down additional siege tanks. There's the defensive matrix, but luckily it's on a low ground tank. Another siege tank being respawned, and right there, going to get taken out before it even has the opportunity to shoot.
Yeah, Ace is doing a really good job with this initial bust in. There are so many tanks that he's going to have to identify and take out, while there are tons and tons of infantry and dropships and everything else just mucking up his view. There's another one, and there aren't going to be that many left. Ooh, D-Matrix on the Wraith instead of something useful is really nice for Ace. Oh, there's another tank.
That was a
big spider mine hit right there. Absolutely annihilating his stuff, and then the shield on that tank. That's the type of stuff that can really make this final base such a difficult task.
Yeah, but Ace has been doing an incredible job macroing on behind, never falling below about 190 supply, really doing everything they can to make sure that we're just producing Hydralisk after Hydralisk. It's a meme, but it's the best unit for the job, and we're going to produce tons of them. Only taking one kill from those spider mines is really nicely done by Ace. That can destroy that entire control group if left unmicroed. Really nicely done there. Around now, the AI should be pulling their siege tanks from the lower base up to the upper base, and we got to really make sure that we can try and catch them in that rotation so they don't get the opportunity to siege and become incredibly difficult to push into. There they are right there. Starting to load up into a couple of overlords. This is going to allow us to get onto the high ground and take out a couple of buildings that are otherwise unreachable, or drop them on top of the siege tanks in that sort of minimum attack range that they have.
If you want perspective for how difficult this entire attack is and how fast Ace is having to do it, if you see the number in the bottom center that is to the left of the timer, that is how many actions per minute Ace is currently doing. He is floating around 170 to 180 for the most part, which is about 3 actions per second consistently for the entire mission, which is insanely fast.
Yeah, focus firing down these high ground command centers are necessary for completion of the mission. There's a couple of low ground buildings we're supposed to take out. There's a barracks down there. And I think we already got the upper barracks that is sometimes troublesome, but once we take out all of the buildings, we'll be calling time when the victorious screen pops up, which should be in just a moment.
Is that the final barracks?
They re-prepared their command centers, so we have to bring another force over there just to snipe out that one building. Like I said, the AI does a reasonable job at repairing and or replacing the things that they lose if given an opportunity. Sometimes even if we're not given an opportunity, there's actually the big old clutch of siege tanks that we're just going to absolutely not deal with.
Yeah, hopefully they don't unsiege and come over. There is another tank just chilling right next to this command center too, but Ace is going to try to burn it down, and if he takes it down, that will be...
That's the final dialogue skip, and time will be called when the button pops up. Time. Let's go.
Well done, dude. Really well done.
Oh my goodness. that is the end of the StarCraft Brood War Zerg campaign. I want to make a huge shout out to, of course, Ectar and Grant for commentating this run. Thank you very much. Really appreciate all. Of course, thank you to the people behind me, supporting me along the way. Want to make special shout outs to the StarCraft community, especially King Dime, who ran this back at SGDQ 2019 and played the Brood War Protoss campaign. Also want to shout out Thedorton for doing a whole bunch of routing throughout all of the missions. Freezard for being one of the OG speedrunners who's been around for decades at this point, all the way back to the pre-SDA era, and then everybody else who's just contributed to this run. It is wonderful.
Shout out to Necron, the only person who actually understands the way that this game works on a mechanical level, and big hearts to all the friends and families of speedrunners who make what we do possible.
Audio, if you could turn the audio down just a little bit. We're going to play the final cutscene, but it doesn't use sound settings, so it will blow out ears if we don't turn the audio down in the game. Okay, I'm not going to blow out people's ears. That is actively destroying mine. But nonetheless, that is StarCraft Brood War. I want to say thank you to our wonderful host as well, MTGJoeD. Really appreciate it. I'm 7thAce. I will do more of these runs in the future, and I really appreciate it. Go follow myself, Ectar, GiantGrantGames, and everybody else in the wonderful StarCraft PvE community. Thank you very much for having me.
And we'll see you all next time.
That was